Thinking about selling your Nintendo Switch? Yeah, don't. Not yet. Because before you even think about trading it in, there are 12 popcorn-ready JRPGs that prove this little hybrid console is still criminally good for role-playing fans. So, grab your Joy-Cons, load up your snack stash, and let's dive into 12 RPGs that make selling your Switch a crime. Coming in at number 12 is VIII, Lacrimosa of Dana, a game that proves the Switch can handle fast-paced action JRPGs without breaking a sweat. Here's the setup. Series protagonist Adol Kristen gets shipwrecked on a cursed island. Instead of sulking, he does what Adol always does. Grabs a sword, slays monsters, and rallies survivors to build a new life. But this isn't just about fighting for survival. As you explore, Adol begins experiencing visions of a mysterious woman named Dana, whose story slowly intertwines with his in ways you don't see coming. The real star here is the combat system. Forget slow, clunky JRPG battles. VIII is all about lightning-fast action. You can swap characters on the fly, chain combos, and exploit enemy weaknesses in real time. It's tight, satisfying, and honestly addictive. Pair that with a killer soundtrack, Falcom's music team never misses, and you've got an RPG that keeps your blood pumping while still delivering emotional gut punches. And here's the thing, VIII has always been a bit of a hidden gem series, but VIII is the entry that finally broke into the mainstream, and on Switch, it's the perfect way to experience it. If you want an action JRPG that balances heart and hype, this one's criminally underrated. At number 11, we've got a game that defines the word classic, Dragon Quest XI-S. This is the gold standard for turn-based JRPGs. The blueprint so many others follow. If you grew up with Dragon Quest, you already know what to expect. A silent hero destined to save the world, a lovable band of companions, and an epic quest against overwhelming evil. But the execution here, pure perfection. The Switch version, known as the Definitive Edition, isn't just a port. It's stacked with extras, new side stories, full voice acting, a fully orchestrated soundtrack, and even the ability to switch between HD 3D graphics and a retro 16-bit mode that feels like a love letter to the SNES era. It's basically two Dragon Quests in one. The characters are unforgettable. From Eric, your loyal thief with a heart of gold, to Sylvando, the flamboyant performer who somehow steals every single scene he's in. This cast is peak JRPG writing, and the game itself, it's cozy, comforting, but still massive in scope. Clocking in at 100+ hours, Dragon Quest XI is a reminder of why this franchise has been the backbone of the genre for decades. On Switch, it's portable, polished, and perfect. If you call yourself a JRPG fan and you haven't played this yet, that's the real crime. Sliding in at number 10 is a true cult classic that finally got the love it deserves. Baten Kaitos I and II HD Remaster. If you never owned a GameCube back in the day, chances are this gem passed you by. But trust me, this is one of those JRPGs that sticks with you for life. The hook? Instead of traditional turn-based commands, Baten Kaitos uses a card-based battle system where every attack, spell, and even healing item is tied to collectible cards called Magnus. At first it sounds weird, but it quickly becomes one of the most strategic and satisfying systems out there. Every battle feels like building a mini deck on the fly, chaining combos together and pulling off flashy finishers that look way cooler than they have any right to. But it's not just the combat. The world building here is on another level. Floating continents in the sky, ancient gods, and story twists that blindside you harder than a Persona boss ambush. And don't even get me started on the voice acting in the original release. So bad, it was good. Luckily, the HD remaster lets you toggle voices off if you want to dodge the cheese, but honestly, some fans keep them on just for the nostalgia. This remaster bundles both Baten Kaitos Eternal Wings and the Lost Ocean and its prequel, Baten Kaitos Origins, adds quality of life updates like fast-forwarding battles, and gives the visuals a much-needed glow-up. If you're tired of samey JRPG battle systems, Baten Kaitos is proof that taking risks can pay off, and playing it on Switch, it finally feels like this series is getting the recognition it always deserved. At number 9, we're going back to where JRPG nostalgia hits hardest, Collection of Mana, featuring Final Fantasy Adventure, Secret of Mana, and Trials of Mana. This isn't just a retro bundle, it's JRPG history in your hands. Secret of Mana especially is legendary. It broke the mold back in the SNES era by offering real-time action combat instead of turn-based menus. You could swing swords, cast spells, and team up with friends in local co-op, something that made it one of the most magical multiplayer RPGs ever made. The atmosphere is pure fantasy comfort food. Colorful pixel worlds, one of the most iconic soundtracks of the 16-bit era, and a story that balances whimsy with surprisingly heavy themes. It's the kind of game where you'll be chilling chilling in a cozy forest one minute and fighting ancient gods the next. Then there's Trials of Mana, a game that didn't even make it outside Japan until decades later. It's the unsung hero of the series, with branching story paths depending on which heroes you pick and multiple endings that keep you coming back for more. On Switch, you finally get to play the original in English. No sketchy fan translations required. What makes this collection criminally good is how it captures the essence of JRPG evolution. You can literally see the genre experimenting, growing, and finding its voice. It's not just a trip down memory lane. It's like holding the DNA of modern JRPGs in your hands. If you're a JRPG fan, skipping this would be like skipping the prologue of your favorite anime. You can do it, but why would you ever want to? At number 8, we've got a game that feels like it jumped straight out of a Saturday morning dream. Super Mario RPG, lovingly remade for the Switch in 2023. Back in 1996, this game was a wild experiment. Square and Nintendo teaming up to throw Mario into a full-blown JRPG, and somehow it worked perfectly. The remake keeps all the charm intact, but polishes it up with gorgeous visuals, new cinematic flourishes, and extra tweaks that make combat even smoother. The story is classic JRPG whimsy. Mario teams up with unlikely allies like Geno, the wooden doll possessed by a celestial spirit, and Bowser himself to take down a villain who isn't even from the Mushroom Kingdom. The combat is turn-based but with a twist. Timed button presses that lets you boost attacks or block incoming hits. It keeps battles interactive and fun, especially for newcomers who might find traditional menus a bit too slow. But what really makes this game timeless is the tone. It's funny, quirky, and surprisingly heartfelt. You'll laugh at the slapstick humor one moment and then feel genuine emotion in the next. And on Switch, it's the definitive way to experience this cult classic, with reorchestrated music that will absolutely wreck your nostalgia. Super Mario RPG isn't just a relic of the past, it's proof that JRPGs can be lighthearted, accessible, and still unforgettable. And now that it's finally back, you've got no excuse to skip it. At number 6, we're stepping into modern indie magic with Sea of Stars, a love letter to retro RPGs that somehow stands shoulder to shoulder with the classics it's inspired by. Made by the creators of The Messenger, this game looks like a SNES RPG that got a 2025 glow up. The pixel art, gorgeous. The soundtrack, legendary, featuring guest tracks from Yasunori Mitsuda, the composer of Chrono Trigger and Xenogears. The story follows two children of the solstice who harness the power of the sun and moon to fight back against cosmic horrors. On paper, it sounds like typical JRPG fare, but the execution is where it shines. The writing balances lighthearted adventure with real emotional weight, and every party member feels like they belong. Combat is turn-based, but adds interactive mechanics. Timing your button presses boosts attacks, reduces damage, and even powers up combo moves. It's a small change, but it keeps every battle engaging, especially during longer dungeon crawls. What makes Sea of Stars special is how it captures the feeling of classic JRPGs without drowning in outdated mechanics. There's no random encounter fatigue, exploration is fluid, and puzzles break up the grind beautifully. For many players, this was the game that finally scratched that Chrono Trigger itch, and on Switch, it feels right at home. It's proof that you don't need a big studio budget to make a JRPG masterpiece. You just need heart, style, and a lot of passion. Sea of Stars is indie JRPG perfection, and if you sell your Switch before playing it, that's straight up a crime against gaming. Quick pause before we dive into the top half of the list. If you're enjoying this countdown, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. We've got more JRPG deep dives, hidden gems, and upcoming releases coming your way. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's next. Alright, now let's keep the hype rolling with number 6. At number 6, we've got Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch, a JRPG that feels like stepping into a Studio Ghibli movie and never wanting to leave. From the very first cutscene, it's clear this isn't just another RPG. With art and animation crafted in collaboration with Studio Ghibli, every frame looks hand-painted, every character oozes charm, and the world feels alive in a way few games ever achieve. The story follows Oliver, a boy who journeys into a magical world after a heartbreaking loss. What starts as a child's desperate attempt to bring back his mother quickly evolves into an epic quest to save two interconnected worlds. It's whimsical, it's heart-wrenching, and it hits those emotional beats that only Ghibli-inspired storytelling can deliver. Gameplay blends classic JRPG exploration with a unique familiar system. You capture and train creatures that fight alongside you, almost like Pokemon with a Ghibli filter. Add in a soaring score by Joe Hisaishi, Ghibli's legendary composer, and you've got one of the most immersive, emotionally charged RPGs JRPGs ever released. On Switch, it runs beautifully, and the portability makes it feel like reading a magical storybook wherever you are. If you love JRPGs with soul, Ni no Kuni isn't just a recommendation, it's mandatory. Sliding into number 5, we've got the epitome of style and substance, Persona 5 Royal. This isn't just a JRPG, it's an experience, a double-life simulator where you're an ordinary Japanese high school student by day and a phantom thief stealing the hearts of corrupt adults by night. The premise is wild, but it's the execution that makes it legendary. Persona 5 Royal refines the already brilliant Persona 5 with new characters, expanded story arcs, fresh dungeons, and quality-of-life updates that make it the ultimate version of one of the best JRPGs ever made. The combat is slick, fast-paced, turn-based strategy where exploiting enemy weaknesses and pulling off all-out attacks never gets old. Outside of battles, you're living life, building friendships, studying, working part-time jobs, or just hanging out at the ramen shop. Every choice you make strengthens your relationships, which in turn powers up your combat abilities. It's a perfect loop of daily life feeding into dungeon crawling. But what makes Persona 5 Royal unforgettable is its style. From the anime-level visuals to the acid jazz soundtrack that slaps harder than anything else in gaming, everything about it screams cool. Even navigating menus feels satisfying. On Switch, having a 100-hour JRPG this polished in handheld form feels almost unfair. If you sell your Switch without playing Persona 5 Royal, you're basically missing one of the defining JRPGs of the generation. At number 4, we've got a game that single-handedly birthed a whole new aesthetic, Octopath Traveler. When Square Enix dropped this in 2018, it wasn't just another JRPG, it was a revolution. The HD 2D art style turned heads instantly. Lush pixel characters layered over diorama-like environments with dynamic lighting and depth. It's nostalgic and modern at the same time, and it's become the studio's new signature look. But visuals are only half the magic. Octopath gives you 8 protagonists, each with their own story arcs, motivations, and starting town. You can tackle them in any order, weaving your own journey through the game's world. It's non-linear, refreshing, and makes you feel like you're shaping the narrative yourself. The combat system is deceptively deep, turn-based, but built around exploiting enemy weaknesses, breaking their defenses, and then unleashing boosted attacks for massive payoffs. It's a constant rhythm of strategy and satisfaction. The soundtrack deserves its own shrine. Yasunori Nishiki's score is pure fire, from pounding battle themes to emotional piano pieces that hit right in the chest. Octopath Traveler proved that JRPGs could innovate while staying true to their roots. And on Switch, it feels like a perfect fit, whether you're grinding on the go or diving into epic boss fights on the big screen. Cracking the top 3, we enter the world of Xenoblade Chronicles III, the epic that brought Monolith Soft's sprawling saga to an emotional crescendo. This game doesn't just tell a story, it builds an entire living world that feels massive, overwhelming, and breathtaking all at once. You play as Noah and Mio, soldiers from opposing nations locked in endless war, who discover a truth bigger than either side. What follows is a journey that's equal parts intimate character drama and cosmic sci-fi opera. The combat system is a fusion of real-time strategy and MMO-style party control. You'll manage up to 7 characters at once, switching classes, chaining combos, and pulling off wild fusion attacks called Ouroboros transformations, where pairs of characters literally merge into powerful mechs. It's complex, but once it clicks, it's addictive. What makes Xenoblade 3 stand out, though, is its emotional depth. The themes of mortality, war, and finding meaning in a broken world hit harder than you'd expect from an anime-styled RPG. Characters aren't just archetypes. They grow, struggle, and bond in ways that make the journey unforgettable. And the soundtrack? Pure Monolith Soft magic. Epic orchestral tracks mixed with electric guitar riffs and haunting flute melodies that stay with you long after you've put the controller down. With critical acclaim, strong sales, and a fanbase that treats it like a modern classic, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is not just a must-play, it's a JRPG event. On Switch, it's proof that the console can handle epic, sprawling adventures that rival anything on more powerful hardware. At number 2, we've got a game that redefined what JRPG storytelling could be. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. The original launched on the Wii back in 2010, but this Switch remaster isn't just a fresh coat of paint. It's a total transformation. Upgraded visuals, streamlined UI, a fully re-recorded soundtrack, and even an all-new epilogue chapter called Future Connected. The story is iconic. Shulk, an unlikely hero armed with the mysterious blade known as the Monado, takes on an army of mechanical titans. What starts as a simple revenge tale evolves into one of the most ambitious, emotional sci-fi epics in the genre. It's not just about saving the world, it's about fate, identity, and what it means to fight for a future worth living. The environments are jaw-dropping. You're literally exploring the bodies of dead gods, the Bionis and the Mechonis, climbing their limbs, running across their shoulders, fighting enemies in jaw-dropping landscapes. It's one of the most creative settings in any RPG ever. The combat is a perfect blend of real-time action and tactical positioning. You're managing cooldowns, chaining arts, and setting up devastating combos with your party. It feels like controlling an MMO raid team, but streamlined for single player. This game earned universal acclaim for a reason, and the Switch version is hands down the definitive way to play it. If you want to understand why the Xenoblade series is held in such high regard, this is where you start. And finally, at number 1, we have the crown jewel, the long-awaited Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. Originally a Wii U exclusive that almost nobody played, this remaster finally brings one of Monolith Soft's boldest experiments to the Switch, and it is massive. Xenoblade X is all about scale. The planet Mira is one of the largest, most open worlds in JRPG history. Lush jungles, towering cliffs, alien oceans, and glowing wastelands filled with creatures the size of skyscrapers. And the kicker? Eventually, you unlock giant mechs called skells, and suddenly, the entire game changes as you take to the skies and explore places you could only stare at before. The story leans more into sci-fi than fantasy, focusing on humanity's struggle to survive after Earth's destruction. You're not just fighting for survival, you're building a new home, exploring the unknown, and discovering secrets about the planet that raise as many questions as they answer. Combat builds on the Xenoblade formula, with MMO-style systems, layered mechanics, and the added depth of mech battles. It's overwhelming at first, but once it clicks, it's one of the most rewarding systems in the genre. For years, fans begged Nintendo to bring Xenoblade X to modern consoles, and the Switch remaster finally makes it accessible to everyone. Enhanced visuals, quality of life upgrades, and smoother performance make this the definitive way to experience a game that was way ahead of its time. Xenoblade X isn't just a JRPG, it's an odyssey. And if you sell your Switch without playing it, yeah, that's not just a crime, it's straight up unforgivable. And there you have it, 12 popcorn-ready JRPGs that make selling your Switch a crime. From timeless classics like Dragon Quest XI and Secret of Mana to emotional powerhouses like Ni no Kuni and Xenoblade III, all the way up to the grand epics of Xenoblade Chronicles X and Definitive Edition. The Nintendo Switch is a JRPG paradise. This isn't just a list of good games. It's a showcase of why the genre continues to thrive. The Switch may not be the most powerful console, but when it comes to JRPGs, it punches way above its weight. Portable, polished, and stacked with masterpieces. Selling it before playing these would be the real crime. So now I've got to ask, which one of these JRPGs have you sunk the most hours into? And which one's still sitting in your backlog, staring at you from the shelf? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to know how guilty your collection really is. If you enjoyed this list, hit that like button, subscribe for more JRPG deep dives, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss the next countdown. Thanks for watching, and remember, keep your Switch close, because the next great JRPG adventure is always just around the corner.